What is the most taboo of human behaviors? One that would be considered universally abhorrent, beyond the pale. Could it be murder? Incest? Cannibalism? Of course, if you've watched the Anthrodorphins video on forms of violence or the one on the Oedipus complex, you've seen that really, none of these behaviors are universally and categorically rejected or forbidden. It depends on the cultural context and circumstances. It's true for sexual behavior, it's true for taking life, and it's even true for eating other human beings.
All sorts of organisms eat their own kind. Cannibalism has been noted in over 1,500 non-human species, from toads to hippos. When humans eat other people, it's called anthropophagy. Archaeological evidence suggests anthropophagy was widespread throughout prehistory, including the lower and middle Paleolithic periods, though there are competing theories as to why. Some think it may have been due to a lack of other available protein. Others posit that, before the development of burial practices, eating the dead might have protected the living from scavengers and predators. Evidence suggests some instances that it may have been part of warfare or a funerary ritual. But anthropophagy did not die out with Neanderthals or our ancient Homo sapien ancestors. It continued well into the 20th century.
When I was a little boy living with my mother, I both saw and ate the bodies of the dead. And when my mother died at Camilla, she too was cut up, cooked, and eaten. The taste of human beings is very sweet and delicious. It's like eating the cassowary bird.
Adventurers, anthropologists, and everyday people who have heard testimony about cannibalism or witnessed direct evidence of it throughout the centuries report a variety of behaviors and explanations. Cannibalism is not homogeneous, and anthropologists, as always, look beyond sensationalism and stereotype to understand what the practice tells us about being human, to ask what it means to people who consume the dead. Anthropologists have also questioned how shifting ideas about cannibalism have tracked the shifts in how we think about people from different cultures and ourselves.
¿Qué va a pasar con nosotros? Dios nos va a perdonar.
Si Dios nos puso en esta situación, va a comprender que hagamos lo imposible para sobrevivir.
Dios no tiene nada que ver con esto. Disculpame, Marcelo. Acá nos trajo la suerte.
La mala suerte.
Es solo carne.
Es gente que queremos, Arturo.
¿Y cómo se corta un cuerpo? ¿Y quién sería capaz de hacerlo?
Cannibalism is not just one thing. There are different reasons for doing it, different ways of doing it, and different ways of thinking about it. Perhaps the least surprising reason for cannibalism is for survival. Even human beings raised in cultures that abhor cannibalism, when pushed to the extremes of starvation due to famine, war, or catastrophe, may resort to eating others. Some instances of survival cannibalism loom large in American cultural memory and mythology. The Pilgrims, early settlers to America, often struggled to grow enough food. During the harsh winter of 1609, known as the Starving Time, first-hand accounts describe desperate colonists digging up corpses. Archaeologists have found remains of a teenage girl, now known as Jamestown Jane, who shows evidence of being butchered.
I'm standing here in the archaeological excavation of a cellar room that is located within the site of 1607 James Fort. Here we recently discovered the mutilated skull and severed leg bone of an English teenage girl that was found lying among the discarded butchered horses, other animal bones, dogs. That indicates that this material was deposited from the starving time of 1609 to 1610. This discovery may confirm a number of 17th century references which describe the starving time and the desperation of the colonists and that some of them resorted to living off of the people that died first.
Later in American history, during the westward expansion in the 1800s, the ill-fated Donner Party of pioneers left for California from Missouri. They started on the established Oregon Trail, but then tried a new route, which they thought would be a shortcut. Instead, they became trapped for months in deep snow in the Sierra Nevadas, turning on each other and allegedly eating their dead. Even survival cannibalism may be somewhat ritualized. For example, sailors on the Atlantic Ocean had a long-acknowledged custom of the sea, where those on ships in distress would draw straws to see who would be killed and eaten to help the others live. This practice was outlawed with an English court case in 1884.
While some are reluctantly forced into cannibalism due to dire circumstances, others long for it. There have been a few infamous cases where cannibalism has been recognized as an extreme and pathological sexual fetish, or paraphilia. While cannibalism per se does not have an entry in the DSM Handbook of Psychiatric Disorders, vorophilia, the desire to consume or to be consumed by another human being, does. As with survival cannibalism, even pathological cannibalism can be influenced by culture and isn't always sexual in nature. Wendigo psychosis is a culture-bound psychiatric illness found among the Algonquin, Cree, and other tribes of the Great Lakes region, typically but not always emerging during times of famine. Individuals manifest anxiety, paranoia, hallucination, and cannibalistic urges. In this case, psychological vulnerability intersects with cultural narratives about the figure of the Wendigo, a malevolent spirit sometimes depicted as a creature with human-like characteristics who can possess humans. People with Wendigo psychosis believe they are transforming into this mythological being. While the mythological figure of the cannibalistic Wendigo is symbolically powerful for the Algonquin and other tribes, a human embodying its spirit to literally cannibalize others is taboo and a sign of grave illness.
Despite what we perceive to be just stories, there have been numerous cases over the years of people committing horrid crimes, claiming that they were possessed by a Wendigo. In 1878, a Native American man named Swift Runner butchered and ate his entire family. That winter was said to have been particularly harsh, and Swift Runner's son had sadly died because of the extreme conditions. Now, we don't know if Swift Runner and his family ate the boy to survive, but the mutilated remains of his wife and 5 other children were later found. He eventually confessed to killing and eating his entire family, but he was adamant that his actions were due to a Wendigo possession. So did devouring his son turn him into a Wendigo? Did he butcher his family because he felt they wouldn't survive the winter? Or did he value the self-preservation of his own life over his family's? The answer to those questions we'll most likely never know.
There are some scholars, however, who have questioned even the basic concept that Wendigo was anything other than a cultural fear. There is little evidence for actual cases of people being cannibalized by people suffering with Wendigo psychosis. Yet people from many cultures around the world and throughout history have eaten human flesh, bone, and organs in a variety of culturally sanctioned ways.
When anthropophagy is taught and learned and conventionally practiced within a culture, this is known as institutional cannibalism. But the categorization doesn't end there. Institutional cannibalism has many variants. One major distinguishing factor is whether the cannibalism is of outsiders, of one's own people, or of oneself. Some cultural groups have practiced just one kind, and some more than one, depending on the context. And context is another categorizing factor.
Numerous past cultures participated in religious rituals that involved human sacrifice to the gods, including cannibalizing those sacrificed. Aztec people, who for centuries formed a massive empire run by a complex imperial state, worshipped a sun god. They believed they needed to fortify this god with human blood to keep it moving across the sky. While debates remain regarding the extent and purpose, it is nearly universally agreed that the Aztecs practiced some degree of cannibalism along with this sacrifice. The process was documented throughout the conquest period of the 1500s, including by a surviving member of a Spanish convoy who was captured, killed, ritually sacrificed, and eaten. The concept of turning human substances into a potent life-giving force and linking the human and divine realms through anthropophagy exists in contemporary religions where literal cannibalism does not occur. Those Catholics who partake in the Eucharist of wafers and wine, for example, believe they are eating the body and blood of Jesus Christ to more deeply connect with the deity.
Beyond the sacred, many cultures around the world have incorporated an element of cannibalism into their rites of war. At around 400 BC, when they were fighting the Romans, Celts purportedly held mass ritual human sacrifices, often of sick or disabled people, before entering into warfare. Archaeological remains suggest they may have eaten the bone marrow. During the siege of Ma'ara in present-day Syria, European crusaders ate their vanquished enemies in what some have interpreted as an intimidation tactic. Other groups have eaten their fallen enemies aggressively as a way of enacting vengeance and flaunting victory, or as a way to incorporate their enemy's power. Rumors of cannibalism have stoked the fear and rage of warfare throughout the 20th century.
Right here, this is where I have my kuchi chair. Yeah. I sat in the chair. My boys are all around singing. The elders bring the innocent child and we open the back of the child, thrust out the heart. Alive? Yes. And we cut it to pieces and distribute it to the boys. And what does that do? Just make them brave and charge them for the battle with the belief that bullet will not affect us.
Some cultures have practiced cannibalism as a form of self-protection outside the context of armed conflict. The Korowai of New Guinea killed and consumed individuals, fellow tribesmen, often individuals they knew well, who they believed to be acting as witches.
Bailum tells us how he killed one of his best friends.
It's just normal. I don't feel sad or anything like that.
And this is what Korowai cannibalism is all about. When a member of the tribe dies, the Korowai believe that person is a victim of black magic, struck down by some sort of evil spirit known as the Kakwa. What follows is a frightening witch hunt. Someone must be the Kakwa, and once the clan decides who it is, he will be killed and eaten.
However, the Korowai themselves might not have thought of this as cannibalism. Once an individual was determined to be a Kakua, they were no longer considered human. Some anthropologists report the practice died in the early 90s due to the Korowai's own growing ambivalence and newly introduced laws which punish witch killing and eating as a crime. But other journalists claim to have heard stories that it is still practiced.
What have you heard or seen about cannibalism? How was the act of humans eating other humans framed? What has your perception of the practice been? Has it changed after what you've seen here?
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to learn more, here are some useful resources in the description below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to get your regular dose of anthrodorphins.